Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Sound CookieCast is the football podcast. Both Paul and Stuart here, and they are discussing the football. Games gone, games to come. What I imagine is probably winding towards the end of the season at this point in time. Everything in between, all you could possibly want from a football podcast. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share that podcast around, people. That's the one. That's the main one. We like that one. Share that podcast around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after a 2-week absence. Because of the international break, obviously, we don't cover the England games because dodged a bit of a bullet, that one, I think, it's safe to say. A draw and a loss to a team I can only presume they've never lost to before.
I have to say that, special treat, let the kids stay up a little bit later to watch the first half of the England game. They were going to watch all of the game, but it was so bad, they asked if they could go to bed at half-time.
Oh dear. For those of you not watching us on YouTube, you just heard the dulcet tones of Mr. Stuart Woodmansey there, Hull's finest correspondent in relation to all things Hull City. Yes, so international football aside, how have you been for the last 2 weeks? All good, I presume?
Full of cold. So not amazing.
Yeah.
But at least the domestic football has kept me going. But we'll get to that very, very shortly.
Yeah, the less said about the domestic football on this end, the better. As we come to you, not to date the podcast in any way, shape, or form at all, but we come to you off the back of one of the teams that is supported in the Williams household being, what's the best phrase to use here? Successfully pumped last night by 7-0. So yeah, not ideal. But we'll go back and we'll just discuss the games that we covered in our last podcast. The first of which saw FC Midtjylland of Denmark taking on Nottingham Forest in the last 16 of the Europa League. Forest went into this one knowing they were 1-0 down from the first leg, so needed to win the game on the night to at least take it to extra time, unless they won by 2 clear goals, of course. So when they took the lead on the 40th minute, they were looking pretty good. They were looking even better on the 52nd minute when Ryan Yates stuck in the second. The first was scored by Dominguez, should have said. So yeah, 52 minutes in, Forest looking pretty good and on course for a place in the last 8. They were brought back down to earth on the 69th minute when Ehrlich found the back of the net for Midtjylland. And that's how the game finished through 90 minutes. And 120 minutes as we fell into a penalty shootout. Now, I believe were you watching this live, or did you just happen to see the highlights afterwards?
No, I saw it until it was 2-0. And then but not that I remember that much of it now, because it was a couple of weeks ago. And then I had something to do. But I knew that Midtjylland had scored to take it to extra time and so on. And when the last 10 minutes of extra time, I saw that and then obviously sat around for the penalty shootout, because it's that age-old thing. It's like, when it's not your team, watching a penalty shootout is one of the most fun things to watch. However, because it involved one of our teams, it didn't quite have the same sort of cut as if it was just like there was no skin in the game sort of thing. It was about to be stressful until it became possibly the best piece of comedy I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Let me just re-familiarise myself with this. I was about to jump in and say it was a bit of a massacre, but I mean, yeah, that's kind of accurate. Yeah, so 2-2 on aggregate. Nottingham Forest scored all of their penalties. Midtjylland did not score any of their penalties. Was at least one of them put into like row double Z, I
So,
think.
if I remember rightly, the first penalty of theirs struck the left upright.
Yeah, 'cause was it post way into the stand?
Well, the second one, I feel like it was the second one. The keeper got his hand to it, but he went the same way as the first penalty taker. Um, so again, like great, all good. The third one, the pressure one. I mean, to be fair, he did look like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders as well. You knew that it was either going to be
Poor,
a
poor guy.
rocket, an absolute rocket, or absolute rubbish. And it was kind of both because it was rubbish. He slipped just as he was about to kick it, and it sent it way up into the top of the stand.
It's one of those ones where it's like the old Sergio Ramos penalty from back in the day. If you look carefully, like sort of in about 70 years' time, you'll see that ball come back around on its orbit around the planet that
Well,
it's going to take.
did you hear that in the news this week that they're launching the first manned mission to the moon in 60 years or whatever it'll be? So I think they're going to recover all of the penalties that have been taken that badly in the last 60 years.
Oh, that poor guy. So yes, 2-1 Forest win on the night, and the 3-0 win in the penalty shootout to take them through to the last 8, where they'll play Porto in the quarterfinals. Very nice indeed. Out for a 1-1 draw. I didn't have any faith that Forest would get the job done. So and I didn't have any of the goal scorers, so no points for me. Stu also, sadly, did not have any of the goal scorers, but did predict a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. So gets himself 2 points for the correct result. So 2 points for Stu, no points for me. I'm not going to dwell on this second game, even though it involves my team, because it was Blackburn Rovers versus Middlesbrough, and it ended goalless. Let me just briefly go through the stats, because you'll be shocked to hear, that it was a Middlesbrough game where they had 72% possession. Not as bad as the previous couple of games. They only had 12 shots in this one, 3 of which on target, 5 were off target. What the fuck happened to the other 4? That'd be my question there, but we'll get on with it. 278 passes for Blackburn, just the 700 for the Borough. Just, oh god,
Oh, that is
like
bad. Sorry for laughing.
when teams get to the end of the season and they've been up there for pretty much the entirety of the season, and then they inevitably just sort of like shit the bed and crumble. It's funny when it's not your team that it happens to, isn't it?
Well, it might happen to both of our teams, the rate that we're going. We'll find out.
Bloody hell. But yeah, so just another game where Borough had all the possession, all the chances, caused all the running, all the sort of, working the keeper, not working the keeper. Just a real rut where they just cannot finish teams off. And the old adage, you don't score, you don't win. Ooh, never more evident than this. Yes, 0-0. Luckily, they were saved yet again by the fact that Ipswich and Millwall were playing each other and also drew. So Borough still find themselves in second position. Ipswich do still have the game in hand. Both them and Millwall are only 2 points behind. Obviously, Ipswich will go second if they win that game in hand. But they don't play on Easter Monday. So by the time that so they don't play on Good Friday, but they do play on Easter Monday. So by the time Easter Monday rolls around, they'll have 2 games in hand on Borough and Millwall, technically. So they'll know exactly what they need to do to get themselves into the top 2. So yes, 0-0. I predicted a 3-1 Middlesbrough win. So had Stu. No points for either of us. Third game takes us to the MKM Stadium where Hull City played Sheffield Wednesday. You'll have to cast your mind back a fair amount of time, but I believe you will have been at this game.
Correct, and it made it feel like you have to cast your mind even further back because Hull City versus Sheffield Wednesday was Retro Day at the MKM Stadium. So they invited fans to wear all of their old replica kit, and just to put that particular cherry on the retro cake, also invited a team down to play that used to be good. So
Way!
I've been waiting 2 weeks to use that. Come on, Paul. We all know how this goes. Already relegated, Sheffield Wednesday are in town. They've won one league game all season. And they thought they were in for a shock win when they opened the scoring after 23 minutes. Free kick was, how can I put this? Just aimlessly lumped into the box. It should have been cleared by McBurney and John Egan, who both had a little bit of a jig around. And yeah, they didn't. It fell to Jamal Lowe, who absolutely twatted it past the keeper. Pando didn't really stand much of a chance when the ball is coming at him from that pace from about 15 yards, I think it was. So he was left a bit stranded after that. We've had this before. One thing I would say, and I've been saying this most of the season, that when we've gone a goal down this season, I've quite like last season, that would have been it. The heads would have been down, nothing would have really have happened. This season, it's very much right. Come on, let's see what we can do. None more evident than in this game when Hull were level. 94 seconds later, it was a really, really nice passing move. Good team goal. Lots of one-touch passing down the right-hand side of the pitch. Culminated in McBurney playing the ball out to the right-hand side of the penalty area. Latched onto by Kyle Joseph, who put in a perfectly timed low ball to match up with a run of Matt Crooks, who tapped home from about 6.5 yards. He managed to beat the keeper to the ball and just sneak it past. So really, really nice, smooth goal. Obviously, Wednesday they had 94 seconds of giving it, you're being mauled by the Wednesday, to then being deathly silent, which very much enjoyed. The negative part of the game wasn't even going 1-0 down. The negative part came after our equaliser when Regan Slater managed to get injured. He's had a bit of a duff right ankle all season. You may recall me saying after he scored that belter a few weeks back that he didn't want to hit it too hard because it was going to hurt his foot, and he did it anyway. He took a very nasty tackle to that same ankle, and whilst captaining the side on the day, whilst Louis Coyle was out of action as well, he did have to give up the armband midway through the first half and retire through injury. Nothing has been said about it since that I have seen, so we aren't sure how severe that's going to be. But very disappointing considering that he's probably the first name on the team sheet every week at the moment. Anyway, we were approaching half-time, but deep into the injury time, Kyle Joseph took a free kick from out right, probably about 25 yards out on the right. Curled in, crossed the edge of the 6-yard box, found the Wednesday players on the back foot, looking at their own goal, looking like they'd never defended a ball in their life. And it was expertly headed home by one of their own. Iofa, own goal, 45 minutes +6, which was almost the last touch of the first half. City were 2-1 up at half-time. Hull put the game out of reach in the second half on 58 minutes. Again, some more slick passing between Kyle Joseph and Ollie McBurney. A smart 1-2 down the right-hand side. McBurney playing in Joseph this time. And he finished to the bottom left of the keeper to make it 3-1. Now, fair play to the Wednesday fans because they've had a torrid season by anybody's standards. And At this point, they decided that they were going to try and get behind their team even more, and were solidly singing from that point onwards until the final whistle and beyond, all the way out the stadium, all the way back through town, all the way through St Stephen's Shopping Centre. Support your team, but they were definitely a little bit too much. My favourite part about it was apparently they were singing "Wednesday are massive everywhere we go," but it very much sounded like "Wednesday get battered everywhere we go" was what it was coming across as in the stadium. So who knows? One of those is right. I'll let you decide which one that is, considering the final score was Hull City 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1.
Yes. Strange enough, that one league win that they have got to their name so far this season, strange enough, did come away from home. So there is the distinct possibility that they could go down as the only English league side to not win a game at home in a season.
Matt Crooks has scored against them twice this season as well, because we drew there obviously on Boxing Day. We went to that game, and he scored in both games against them now.
Yeah, they're a sad state of affairs at Hillsborough, unfortunately. So 3-1. It's points, but it's not as many points as you would have thought across the board. I'd gone for a 3-0, and sadly didn't have Crooks, Joseph, or an IR for own goal. So I just get the 1 point for the result. Stu gone for a 3-2. And also, sadly, did not have Crooks an IR for own goal or Joseph to score. Nor did he have Lowe to score for Sheffield Wednesday. So just a 1 point for Mr. Woodmansey as well. So 3 games in. I'm lagging behind on the 1 point. Stu is in the lead with 3 points. That takes us to our final game of the week, which saw Tottenham Hotspur taking on Nottingham Forest in what was very much a relegation 6-pointer at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And what's the best way to describe this one? Awesome if you're a Forest fan. Shitstorm if you're a Spurs fan, shall we go with?
I mean, I'm trying to think. There must be some sort of what was each goal worth in the end? Like a third of the guy's contract? Is that?
Well, what Stu's referring to is the fact that because Spurs lost this game, they not straight away, but they later on, after a number of weeks, decided that they were not going to roll with Mr. Tudor as their head coach any longer, and he was indeed fired, making him the second Tottenham manager to be fired this season. They have since brought in a Roberto De Zerbi as the new head coach, so it'll be him. It'll be up to him to keep them in the division and see what he can do with that team. But as for this game, Forest took the lead right on the stroke of half time. It was a corner, I think, from the left hand side, made its way to the back post. I think Milinkovic was the guy that everyone was focused on, like sort of coming in thinking that he was going to be the one getting the header. But it was actually Igor Jesus who was at the back stick who managed to get the header and plant it back past the keeper to make it 1-0. Into the second half, and it was Forest that kept up the momentum. That made it 2-0 on 62 minutes. I think it was a break down the left-hand side. Ball in from the left-hand side, made its way to Gibbs White, who just swept home from, I think it was around the penalty spot to make it 2. And I didn't see the third goal. Sadly, I don't know if it was a cross from the left-hand side again. But it was Taiwo Awonyu who found himself in the box and finished very smartly to make it 3-0. Cue a chorus of boos from the Tottenham fans that were left inside the stadium. But yes, that was a very, very vital 3 points for Forest And it's 3 points that's on leapfrog Spurs in the table. So Forest now 31 games played, 8 wins, 8 draws, 15 losses, 32 points for the season. Spurs below them with 30 points. West Ham further back on 29. So it's very much looking like it's going to be 1 from 4 to join Wolves and Burnley in the Championship next season. You've got, like I say, West Ham on 29, Spurs on 30, Forest on 32, and Leeds on 33, each with 7 games left to play. So very much all to play for, and really could be anyone who gets dragged into it. But at the moment, of the teams down there, Spurs are in the most disarray. So
the disappointing thing is like, obviously we want Forest to stay up. That's the given. It's really hard to pick that team from West Ham, Spurs, or Leeds that you'd prefer. It's like just any one of the 3 is fine.
yeah, like part of you want? Ooh, could Burnley and Wolves just put a little miraculous run together and just sort of bin all 3 of them down instead?
Oh my god! If Wolves managed, I don't. In fact, we must be like what? Because 30, so they need 13 points just to catch Spurs at this point, Wolves. And there's not that many games left, is there? We're getting really close to
seven games left, so 13. So when it gets to 4 games remaining, they'll be down.
Yeah, I mean,
unless things pick up, obviously. So, and I mean, Burnley are only 3 points better off than Wolves, so they're pretty much in a similar boat. They need 3 or 4 wins just to get back in with the teams above them. So, yeah. Anyway, just to wrap up the week's festivities, Stuart gone for a 1-0 Tottenham win with Solanke to score. That's a big fat 0 right there, unfortunately. I'd gone for a 2-1 Forest win. So I bagged myself a point for the result. I also had Gibbs White as one of my goal scorers, so bagged myself a bonus point there to give me 2 for the week, which means after 4 games, I had 3 points. And so did Mr. Woodmansey. So it's a nice draw. Shake of the hand. Lovely, jubbly. So, it's Easter, ladies and gentlemen, which brings with it lots and lots of football. 2 games for the Borough, 2 games for Hull. No games for Nottingham Forest, because for the first time, I think, ever, the Easter week is also FA Cup week, which never seems to be the case. So, yes, no games for Forest until they get to their European exploits next week. So we've got those games to predict. We are just going to take a small break, just briefly, to recompose ourselves and come straight back at you with a Good Friday fixture that is tasty. Join us again very shortly. And just like that, we're right back with you to discuss Good Friday football. And it starts off with a juicy fixture, ladies and gentlemen. At 12:30 live on Sky Sports Telebox. For my lot, Middlesbrough taking on Millwall. Ooh, it's a good one. One for the neutral, dare I say. So this is 2nd v 4th. They've done it again. They've picked a team that's right round the corner from Middlesbrough for the nice early kickoff. Everyone knows Bermondsey to the northeast is a mere stone's throw. Why not move it to the early game? Especially on a bank holiday. Oh, Sky really just do not give a fuck about the little man, do they? They really couldn't care less. Obviously, it's my team, so I will give my prediction last, which means that Mr. Woodmansey has the joy and the honour of starting it off with week 31's first prediction. How do you see this one going?
It's about time. I mean, personally, I would rather it be a draw for obvious reasons. I don't see it being a draw.
Okay.
I have actually gone for a 1-0 home win,
Oh, okay.
and I'm going for Brown to score.
This would be Alan Brown, who missed the decisive penalty in the Republic of Ireland playoff against the team escapes me. Denmark?
Don't know. It was international football. Didn't watch it.
Was it Denmark? Or were they going to play Denmark? I can't remember. Either way, he missed it. He didn't score. Another player who used to play for Borough also missed his penalty in Finn Azaz. So, oh dear. So, Stu doesn't think it will end as a draw. Sadly, I do. I don't know. I've gone back and forth in this game. It's one of those games where Borough struggle against teams who come and just sit 10 men behind the ball, well, 11 men behind the ball, I suppose, technically, and just sit on their own, 18-yard box and try and get Borough to break them down. I don't think Millwall will do that, but I think they do have the players in the team that have the capability of doing that, if that makes sense. So I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I think both teams want to win. Both teams will probably go for the win. Whether they'll cancel each other out, I don't know. So I've gone for a Castledine goal, as he scored in the last home game against Bristol. And I've gone for Callum Britton to score. No idea why. And then obviously the old boy rule comes into effect. Josh Coburn to score for Millwall because, obviously, and he's in a bit of a rich vein of form at the moment. And technically, I suppose it's an old boy rule. Macaulay Langstaff, I believe, was on the books at Borough and then never got offered a contract or was moved on before he could actually get into the first team. He's the guy who a couple of seasons ago at Notts County in non-league scored pretty much a goal a game, got his big move to Millwall, and hasn't really scored much since. So obviously, we're better for him to get back on the goal trail than in his native northeast. So 2-2 for me. Not a result that would be very good for either team, as if Ipswich were then to go and win their 2 games in hand, they will be 6 points clear of Borough, 8 points clear of Millwall. So not ideal, really. Our second game of Good Friday takes us to, I believe, 3 p.m. Let me just double check. But I think it is live on Sky.
No idea.
Let me double check.
Definitely 3
It
o'clock.
is indeed. It is a 3 o'clock, but it is classed as Sky Sports Football. So it's not even the Plus channel. This is a big boy game put on the big boy channel. Look at you. Lovely.
It's almost like they've finally realised that we're sort of in the playoffs.
Well, what Stuart's referring to is the fact that everyone's obviously classing the race for second as being a 3-horse race between Borough, Ipswich, and Millwall. Everyone just casually forgetting the fact that Hull are only 3 points worse off than Ipswich and Millwall at this particular point, and only 5 points behind the Borough. With a couple of draws and some Hull wins, they very much are back in the race. So
if you ended up beating Millwall though, and by enough goals, and then Hull ended up winning by at least a couple, it really will tighten the goal difference up, and they'll be on the same points as Millwall as well. I think it's annoyingly Ipswich, I think, had just gone from us on goal difference. Obviously, they're much closer to you, which you could do with that changing as well in the next couple of games.
Just a bit. The one thing that I think that is in Borough's favour, Ipswich's away form is really, really up and down, piss poor. And of their 8 games they've got left, I think 5 are away from home. And 2 of those are Southampton and Norwich, who are basically the best 2 sides in the division currently.
That I was going to say the side that concerns me the most in the top six at the moment. Yeah, I mean you know what you get with
Southampton.
yeah, you know what you get with Coventry, but everybody else has got that form in them whereby they can turn up one day and beat somebody 3-0 and the next day they'll go and lose 2-0 to Oxford. Oh wait a minute. That
Okay.
wasn't a spoiler, by the way. Um, but Southampton are that form team. There's always that one team that hits their stride coming into the playoffs at the end of the season, and
Yep.
it looks like them at the moment.
It certainly does. And obviously, as a doom monger in me, I'm just thinking, well, that just means that if Borough play Southampton at any point in the playoffs, Finners is guaranteed to score. So, yes, Borough must avoid Southampton at all costs. So, yes, Mr. Woodmansey alluded to it there. The game at 3 p.m. sees Oxford United taking on Hull City live on Sky Sports Television, same as the Borough game. It's his team. He will give his prediction second. I've gone for a 2-1 away win. I've gone for Harris to score for Oxford. Harris, fresh off the back of scoring his penalty for Wales. They're another team who didn't get through. And then I've gone for Crooks and Kumas for Hull.
Okay.
What have you got down for Oxford versus Hull?
Well, as I just alluded to, I do have a 2-0 scoreline, but it's not to get beaten by Oxford. It is to beat Oxford 2-0.
Very nice.
The away form is pretty good. Has been a decent season for away results.
Mm.
It's about time Gelhardt got back on the horse, so one for him. And do you know what? Weirdly, even though he's the top scorer and his output has been good at setting up others in the last few games, as we've been discussing, but it's about time McBurney got back on the score sheet as well. Starting to resemble a bit of a drought at the wrong time of the season for him, I feel like. So
Mm.
let's play one of the teams in the bottom two and see what that can do for him, eh?
Yeah, it's weird that there was a podcast I was listening to the other day where it said, "Are we potentially in like the worst golden boot race of all time in the championship because no one's on there. I think the top scorer is on 16, and it's Vipotnik at Swansea.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. Strange enough, speaking of Swansea, takes us to our next game where we move to the Easter Monday fixtures. And it is Swansea City versus Mylott Middlesbrough. This is a 5:30 p.m. game. And again, they've picked a nice short trip. Middlesbrough to the west of Wales is a mere 6 minutes in the car.
Southwest as well, not just the west. It's the south.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a perfect one. It's just round the corner. I think it's like 5 hours. This one could even be longer. That could be 5 hours from York. Now
Would
that I
it
think about it,
would it be quicker to fly to Torquay and swim across the gap?
it'd be quicker just to take about 80 quid and just set fire to the fucker on the floor because it's costing you at least that for your ticket and your petrol or your train. Or it was definitely costing you more than that on your train. So yeah, 5:30 kickoff. It's my team, so I'll go last. Stu, what have you got for Swansea versus the Borough?
I've got a 2-1 Borough win.
Ooh, nice.
Swansea are in again. They're in that Bristol City vein of sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but I think they're more bad than good at the moment. So we'll go with an away win. I've got Whittle or Widdell. I'm assuming he doesn't like it if you having a Whittle in the middle of the pitch. It's a score for Swansea, and I've got Strelec and McGree for the Borough.
That would be Strelec off the back of scoring twice in the international break for Slovakia. Sadly, neither of those goals made anything as they lost their playoff against Kosovo. And Ryan McGree, who didn't score, but was on the pitch as Australia won against Curacao. I couldn't say anything about Whittle. Never heard of the guy. So
I just picked him because
Sorry.
it was a funny name. So
Sorry, Melker. I will do my research on you next time. He's definitely going to score now. I've taken the piss, isn't he?
I mean, don't say take the piss with Whittle. Come on.
No, lovely. Didn't even. I just walked straight into that one. I'm in, I am in agreement. I too have gone with a 1-0 Middlesbrough win. No, that's not what Stuart gone for. A win, but I've gone for 1-0. Swansea were very, very, very poor against Coventry at home, and I'd like to think that Borough are in a similar vein to Coventry in that regard. So optimistically, I've gone for a 1-0 win, and I've taken a bit of a risk here. I've gone for the old boy rule in the fact that Morgan Whittaker did have a spell at Swansea, but he didn't play in the last couple of games because he was injured.
Right.
But obviously he's had 2 weeks to sort of get himself back to fitness and stuff like that. And he needs a goal. He needs a goal to sort of finish the season strongly. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the start of a little bit of a purple patch for him towards the end of the season. Our fourth game of the week, also on Easter Monday, takes us to the 8 p.m. fixture, which sees Hull City taking on Coventry City. Coventry to Hull, not as big a gap as most, but still, East Midlands to the
Yeah, it's
East
not that bad.
Riding.
It's not
Two and a
it's
half,
not
two
that
and a
bad.
half hours.
Yeah, but it's more. I suppose it's worse for them on the way back. But do you know what? The top of the league, they're gonna get promoted at this point. I'm gonna say it. So really,
Yeah,
who
fuck him.
cares? Yeah.
It's Stu's team. He will go second. I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I think Cov are going to lose. I think Cov are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. And I don't think at the minute that Hull's necessarily an easy team to play against. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw, and I've gone for Joseph for Hull, and my favourite player in a Coventry shirt, the very underrated and underappreciated Sakamoto. What have you got down for the boys versus Cov?
I'm pleased that you picked Joseph because, and I'm pleased that he scored against Wednesday because I gave him a lot of stick that first season,
Mm.
and he wasn't ready. Now, I think you'll be, other than Regan Slater, I think you'll be hard pushed to find anybody in that team who covers more distance for the team. So he might not be prolific, but yeah, it's nice this season to see him getting his flowers a little more, if you like.
Mm.
However, I haven't predicted him to score in this game. I have predicted a Coventry City 2-0 away win.
Yeah. Boo! They're not playing Borough.
Oh, I know, but we're not great against them either.
You got to draw. You got to draw. First game of the
Yeah,
season. Away,
yeah.
away from home.
I'm not confident though. We've the back line has been decimated with injury. Um, we don't know if Louis will be
Is Hugh
playing.
still? Is Hugh still suspended?
No, it was a one game ban, so he'll be back for this one.
Okay.
Um, but we've had another run of injuries again. So don't know if Louis will be playing or not. I did see him on Monday night, not in a athletic capacity as it were, but he wasn't limping or anything. So I'm kind of hopeful that he'll be involved. He was on the bench for the Wednesday game, but that was definitely more to fill the numbers than anything else. There was no way he was getting on the pitch. Um, and that worries me because the Coventry front line is pretty potent. As you mentioned, Sakamoto as well. Even when he doesn't score, he's always involved in the setup play. But even if we manage to keep their centre forwards quiet, which I believe that between whether it's Ajayi, Egan, or Hughes, or all three of them, I think they probably will. But then they have a tendency to then not really get to the second ball, and that's where I think their midfield sort of back them up nicely as well. So I've gone for Grimes and Onyeka. Grimes always tends to score against us as well. It's one of them.
He's another one who scored last time out against Swansea actually. And Onyeka's a weird one because he was linked with. He was supposed to have joined the Borough on loan a couple of seasons ago, but I think in the week he was due to join, Brentford got an injury in the position that he plays, so he had to end up staying as cover. And annoyingly, he's basically been the player who's kind of kick-started Cov's renaissance. So yeah, very good player on Onyeka. But I don't think he's scored yet in his loan spell, so we'll see.
Perfect timing then.
Ding, ding, ding. And our last game of the week takes us back into Europe, and it's FC Porto versus Nottingham Forest in the first leg of their last 8 tie in the Europa League. It's neither of our teams, so neither of us can go last in that capacity. So I'll let Stu go first, and then I'll give the last prediction of the week. So Stu, what have you got down for the first leg of Porto versus Nottingham Forest?
Both teams not in the worst form the last few games, but we all know that what we've learnt through Forest this season in Europe is if they've got a chance at a second leg, or if they can maybe leave it a game in the league phase, or like whatever, the first game doesn't always go massively well. So I have gone for a Porto 1, Forest 0 scoreline, so that it's not completely out of reach by the time it comes back to the City ground. But it'll probably leave them a little bit to do. I feel like this is probably going to be the hardest game that they're going to have had all season in terms of the European adventure. And potentially one of the most difficult spellings that Paul will have had for the book. In the sense of, I have gone for, is it Pietaszewski?
I don't know, mate. I definitely haven't written that down already in this book. So,
and it genuinely wasn't like it was like right, let's have a look at the line. Where do I think the goal is coming from? Right. Oh shit.
yes, I too had a look at their last game and saw that he was starting up top for him. And I was like, oh, well, shit. Well, I'm definitely going to have to pick him then, aren't I? Yes, I too have picked an Oscar Pietaszewski. I'm guessing that must be it. Surely, like the EWSK is normally Fski, isn't it? So,
well, I have no idea because I butchered it.
Pietaszewski. Yeah. I'm going to confidently back that. I might ask the Polish girl at work.
This is where we need a run-in from Mr. Cook to put us right with the pronunciation.
Oh, he'd be straight on it. He'd know exactly what he's talking about for this one. Yes, I have Mr. P to score for Porto. I've gone for a 2-1 Porto win. I think Stu's right. I think Forest might struggle in this one. They're probably the best team they will have come up against so far in the competition. Definite pedigree. Not to say that Forest don't have pedigree, but obviously much more recent pedigree from a Porto perspective when it comes to European competition. And then I've gone for Fofana to score again for Porto. And I've gone for Igor Jesus to score for Forest. He might even be the top scorer in the competition. I need to look into that. Wouldn't be surprised if he was, because all of his goals this season do seem to have come in the Europa League, pretty much. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of our predictions for week 31. But I believe, Mr. Woodmansey, you've got something that you'd like to raise that you'd seen in relation to one of the teams that our teams will be playing against this week, Swansea City.
Yeah. So as Paul says, Swansea playing Borough in the coming games, and they've been in the news a little bit this last week or just before the international break, certainly. So in the last round of games when our teams, played Chef Wednesday and the like, as we discussed, Swansea were away to Wrexham in a Welsh derby. So Sky were all over this. They had the game moved to a Friday night, but of course the game was at Wrexham, home of Disney FC, and they've decided, Sky this is, that they're going to jump all over it. So they did alternate commentary for the game. So they had David Prutton on commentary. That wasn't the alternate part, though it isn't the best option. With Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and Wrexham have officially launched a complaint to the EFL regarding Sky's coverage. Now, obviously, Sky pay a lot of money for the TV rights to show the games, but they are supposed to present the games in a fair and like balanced way, like unbiased. So I kind of take their point on this one. Like, why were Swansea afforded the luxury of their owners being the alternate commentary just because of them being the famouses that they are? Why was there no Swansea voice in amongst that? And as well, to top it off, as you would fully imagine, the production before the game was very, very Wrexham heavy. It was touted actually that the production of all like the pre-match videos and stuff had actually been done by their own, like as in Wrexham's own video production company. That has been since been said to be not to be true, and Sky apparently did that in house, but it was that bad that people believed it was all set up. It's that Swansea backed this up though as well with a comment in their own programme from their following game against a home game against Coventry, and it said, "We have the Sky Sports cameras in attendance once again, although hopefully coverage of this fixture will be more balanced than what we witnessed around our game at Wrexham last weekend. Whilst I don't think that we would dispute that we want to continue to grow the profile of the EFL product, the means by which we do so should be balanced and impartial. And in my view, the build-up to the coverage of the game itself left a lot to be desired on those particular scores." Yeah, I would fully agree. And it's stuff like this as well, where, like, speaking to a couple of Wrexham fans, they might be recent ones, but it's all, oh, people want us to fail because we're successful. No, people want you to fail because you're the Manchester City of the lower leagues, and at some point it will come out, or the rules will be changed because the advantage they have had since those two took over has been nigh on insurmountable, purely for the fact that they've almost found every loophole to put as much money as they really want to into that team. So there's no wonder that they're not sort of sat where they were 4 years ago. No doubting that the players have had to work to get to where they are. Having experienced Phil Parkinson as a manager, there is absolutely no fucking way he's a Premier League manager. So it just proves what money can do, is what I would say. And if they get into the playoffs and win, God help the rest of us.
I think the problem is that they're not going to go away, are they? They're just basically going to throw money at it until they get promoted. So it's almost a kind of is it just easier just to let them have it and just get them out of the league?
What I think what's starting to like irritate me the most about it though is it's always presented in such a way of, oh, we're not doing it for us, we're doing it for the community. Right. So why were you on commentary then? Why are you front and centre every single time? It doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, I suppose that you could sort of play the devil's advocate thing and say that it wasn't the only coverage they sort of like had. They obviously had the full game with just the regular commentary was on one of the other channels, and then this Wrexham slanted sort of spin was on another channel. But yeah, why was there not then a third channel dedicated to the Swansea element of the game and stuff like that? So yeah, I think it's gonna it's going to get them more enemies than it is fans. Certainly in this country, but that's not really their problem, I suppose, is it? And that's kind of where they'll just sort of be like, no, we don't really care. So, but yeah, it'll probably blow up in their face at some point. It's just a case of how badly it blows up and whether it does any sort of reputation damage to their sort of legacy as the owners, I suppose. But we won't really know until they sort of hit their first hurdle. Because obviously they had the first hurdle they had was like obviously losing in the playoffs in the first year, and since then it's been nothing but success. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they hit the next stumbling block, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that's coming sooner rather than later. And genuinely, like the dream scenario is that obviously Forest do the business and stay up. Borough hang on to second, and then Hull go into the playoffs. It could be that all three of our teams are in the same league again for the first time in a long time next season. However, if that happens for Hull, I feel like it's way too early.
Well, I think the main concern from a Hull perspective would be won't they technically have the transfer embargo still in place?
No, because that got reduced and they can spend again from summer.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
And as well, I'm not quite sure how that would work because that was one of them deals where it was imposed by the EFL, and we all know how if you're
Leicester.
Yeah, exactly, in Leicester's position. Yeah, it might be that they could go up and then if they didn't come back down for 10 years, something else would happen in 10 years' time. But I suppose we'll find out at that point. But no, the initial they didn't lift the embargo entirely, but they did reduce the term which it covered. So as soon as the season finishes, the owner can start splashing the cash if he wants to. But again, I really hope that this season's taught him a lesson. Hasn't needed to go nuts to get the team where it is. A lot of that is down to the manager and the way that he's got them playing and the attitude that is instilled within the team. Pains me to say it. Some of the players that they've brought in, obviously not that keen on all of them, particularly like Ollie McBurney. But he's installed a bit of fight in there as well, a little bit of the dark arts when it's needed. Obviously, they don't always get away with it. Looking at you, Charlie Hughes, but it's balanced the team a hell of a lot more than I thought it would. We haven't just ended up with like a shed load of dross, considering we haven't been able to spend. They've actually been pretty smart about the business that they've done. The only exceptions to those rules will probably be the mess that's been created off the back of the embargo initially, because still nothing's really ever been said about whatever happened to Gustavo Puerta. And now because they've ended up bringing in so many loan players and the registrations and all the rest of it, with Yu Hirakawa not opting for surgery on his ankle injury in the hope that he can then play still for Japan in the World Cup, that hasn't officially ruled him out for the season, which means that they then couldn't re-register David Akintola. So he's now in limbo because we've got too many loan players and can't feature. But he's still around the setup and he's still playing. So that bodes well, I guess, for maybe he will stick around. And once they can make some permanent signings, we'll see what happens there.
Yes, that'll be interesting to sort of like to see what happened. Like obviously, because you'd like to think that the Borough will be in exactly the same position. They're at the point where they're going to have to basically start, because you'd like to think that they're doing their due diligence now, and they're basically drawing up two lists. One is the sort of the absolute ideal scenario. If they get promoted, that's the sort of the list they're working on, and then obviously they're going to have the secondary list, which is if they are still in the Championship next season, these are the players they're going to go for. And yeah, like you say, you'd like to think that he won't go wild and feel like he needs to overspend on, just for the sake of spending money. But it's all a part of the rich tapestry that is the football game that we love and hate in equal measures. And obviously, the results over the Easter weekend will very much dictate whether it's the former or the latter. So there you have it. That brings us to the end of another week. Another set of predictions. Thank you very much, as always, to Mr. Woodmansey for joining me to go through the details of his team, my team, and Mr. Mo's team. Join us again next week, where we'll break down those games we've just predicted, and we'll bring you some more predictions for the following games. But until then, it's tatty bye from me, tatty bye from Mr. Woodmansey, and we will see you in a week's time. Ta-ra!
So there we go, watch things up. Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, if you haven't already, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.